Hello. It's February now, which means that March Madness is right around the corner. And I don't mean whatever March Madness means for 99.9% of the rest of the human community. I mean SWTVC's March Madness bracket for vintage collection action figures we most want. You can vote now. You can supply your top 25 most wanted figures, and I did. And I'm going to run you through that list. I'll start by saying this is a bit of a weird list because, I did obviously submit 25, but some of them fall into common themes. I'm not just going to run off the top 25 because it's a waste of everybody's time, and I bet you already know where I'm going to go. I will also say, I don't even think I did this intentionally, but when I was finished drafting my picks, I realized there isn't a single figure, character, anything on there from prior to 2015. So basically, my ask is vintage collection, fill in the gaps from the Disney Plus shows, from the sequel trilogy, all of the stuff that's come out since the Disney purchase that still has huge missing pieces in terms of characters. So apologies in advance to fans of the original trilogy and the prequel trilogy. It just did not figure into my thinking this year at all. To that point, below the top 10, again, a lot of things in just big groups. So like one of the big groups was missing Rise of Skywalker characters. So Rose, Finn, Poe, the Emperor, Kylo Ren, like all the obvious ones from Rise of Skywalker that it's kind of astonishing the toy line didn't support at the time because, again, I'm old enough to recall that there was a time when a new Star Wars movie came out, you'd have the main characters. Similarly, Andor is a big category, so like Luthen, Bix, Brasso is on my list. I know they'll never do it, but I really want Brasso in the band leader uniform just because I think it's awesome. I'll have to customize that figure someday. I also threw Jecki on there, and I threw Ezra Bridger in his Paradia look, which I think is a pretty good bet. That's going to get announced one of these days anyway, but he was below my top 10, somewhere in the bottom 15 of my top 25. So again, my top 10 has, I want to say 17 characters in it because it's got, I've just kind of grouped them together for the ease of this video. I didn't submit it like this, I'm not insane. But at number 10 was, I believe the character is named Oma Tress. I've never heard that before, but it's John Williams. There is a John Williams cameo in The Rise of Skywalker, and I don't think any of the toy lines have attempted to capture this moment, which is a little bit weird because Hasbro does like doing this. Like when crew members are in the shows or in the movies, they do like releasing those action figures, usually as like a convention exclusive or something like that. Like a lot of Star Wars fans, obviously John Williams means the world to me and has for my entire life. So I would love to have a John Williams action figure. The man's like 91, 92 years old. There's a great documentary about his career on Disney Plus if you want to watch that. But like the guy was in Star Wars serving drinks at the bar. And that's got to be put in plastic. So I put him on my list. My number 9 is me being a bit of a shit disturber. I always throw the caretakers, the fish nuns on the list, the Octo caretakers. I love the fish nuns, mostly because they kind of look like my mom and her sister. But even if they didn't, I would still say those are great characters, fun aliens, and I know it's 1,000,000 to 1 that Hasbro will ever do them, but I will never stop asking. I will be asking on my deathbed. So in 8th place, this is where we kind of go into, obviously I didn't submit all of these as a single place, I submitted them as 4, but the Bad Batch is my next on the list. I prioritized Tech. Tech was the highest ranked on the list that I actually did submit. Tech's my favorite character of the adults, or the fully grown clones. I know Omega's technically older than Clone Force 99. But I don't know. I think at this point, it's pretty likely that Hasbro is cooking something up for the Bad Batch, whether that's a HasLab or not. I was watching Bosk's Bounty video the other day where he was like, they'll probably do a HasLab and then re-release all of the characters in their different paint decos as part of the main line. So I'm assuming we're going to see Tech at some point, but I hope I'm not wrong. There's a couple characters from Andor that did not get bulked into the bottom 15 group that I mentioned earlier. The first of which is at number 7, which is Kino Loy. I'm a little surprised that we have not seen Kino Loy, given the enormous popularity of that character. But same can be said for Luthen. I'm surprised we haven't seen Luthen too. But Andy Serkis, obviously, he means the world to us as a fandom. He did such an incredible job in those episodes, and it's a relatively easy build that can yield additional figures, right? If they do Kino in the jumpsuit, then they can just do 4 packs of other prisoner characters. Like they can do Cassian in that. Like they basically get like 6 figures out of one set of tools. Well, you know, maybe not exactly, but like close enough where, yeah, I'm kind of surprised that that hasn't been done yet. I am hoping that we will see it at some point. I mean, I'm assuming we're not going to see Kino in season 2 of Andor. I'll rephrase. I don't want to see Kino in season 2 of Andor. I want I Can't Swim to be the last word, literally, we ever hear from that character. But such a great character, such an enormous part of why we like Andor as a show that I really hope eventually we get to see him in plastic as well. Again, dipping back to my bulk categories, this one is not one of the bulk group from Rise of Skywalker. This is, I think, the most important character to me from Rise of Skywalker, which is Ben Solo in his boyfriend sweater. Again, it's one of those ones where it's just sort of weird. It hasn't happened yet. He's Leia and Han's son. His arc is critical to the sequel trilogy. You know, where is it? And you know, his ending, his final fight scene where he does the shrug and he beats the hell out of the Knights of Ren. It's like, this is great Star Wars moment that deserves to be memorialized in plastic. And my number 5, I went completely nuts, which is that I want to F from The Village Bride, which is a first season episode of Star Wars Visions. I believe, if I recall my rumors correctly, we are going to be seeing the Ronin character from Visions in the Black series reasonably soon, which does suggest that Hasbro, at least theoretically, might make Visions action figures. I think the odds of them making anything from the Village Bride is extremely low. I suspect if we're going to see anything from Visions at all, it will be, again, Ronin, pretty popular character, and then maybe secondarily characters from the Ninth Jedi. Village Bride just happens to be my favorite, both in terms of an episode and just a visual design. Like, I think those are spectacular costume designs. So I would like to see F, I would like to see her mentor, I would like to see the titular Village Bride and her fiance. I think the odds of this are extremely small, but I voted for them anyway because I'm special. Next up, another group at number 4, the Skeleton Crew. I actually prioritized Fern here. I know everyone's going to be like, what? No Neil? No, I mean, Neil, look, it's hard to choose between your kids. I love all of them. But Fern kind of ended up being my favorite character coming out of that series. I don't want Hasbro to choose either. Like, I want them to make all 4. I don't want to get in another Hunter situation where we just have one random character from the show, which we're kind of in now because we have Jod. But like, of the kids, the titular Skeleton Crew, I kind of insist that Hasbro do all 4 of them. At number 3, kind of obvious from The Acolyte, The Stranger. There's been a lot of talk about this character in the community in the last few months. It's very, very odd that Hasbro seems to have given him a miss. I'm assuming that will be rectified at some point. I'm assuming there's a reason for it. It is like they have made a really fulsome line of characters from The Acolyte in 3 3/4 inch. Watch my video from last week where I unboxed the retro collection figures from there. But like, I got a good swarm of them up there now and they're on the shelf, but it's kind of astonishing that not only the series villain, but also by any yardstick, one of the most impressive villains in Star Wars hasn't been touched as an action figure. Hot Toys hasn't done them. Hasbro hasn't done them. Like, the only Stranger merch that exists on the planet is that helmet, which, that's great. I mean, the helmet's cool, but like, that is really weird that none of the licensees went after this character, given what a huge splash he made in that show. So, you know, hope springs eternal. He is my number 3. My number 2, another hope springs eternal. I really do want Cinta. I really want Cinta from the Aldhani heist. We have Vel, we have her girlfriend from the Aldhani heist, and I just want a Cinta in an equally badass but green inflected outfit standing next to her with a big gun. Cinta rules, and I want an action figure of her. And finally, I'll put her in number 1 for the purposes of this list, but I'll let you know that I actually submitted her in 3 separate places in 3 different pieces of clothing. It's Omega. Omega is the figure that I want the most in some form. I mean, obviously, if Hasbro chose to do 3 Omegas in the vintage collection, I'd be thrilled. I don't think that's going to happen, but I specified Omega Season 2 as my favorite look. I actually do have her in Black Series in that look. Omega Season 2 favorite look, Omega Rebellion, which is the adult Omega from the end of the show. second favorite, and then I put Omega Season 3, basically when she's a prisoner, as my third look, hoping that we will eventually get the light crossbow. I don't know. I don't know what the odds are. The Bad Batch as a treatment by Hasbro continues to baffle me. I do hope they rectify sooner or later. So I'm going to pop the link to where you can submit your picks for March Madness in the description for this video if you don't already have it. Would love to hear what you are prioritizing on your polls. And then obviously once the voting starts, and we'll all have our fun watching inexplicably Hammerhead win again. Thanks for watching.